Jewel on your hometown station. Good afternoon. My name is Shane Cutchell, and I am welcoming into the studio with me a couple of guests from one of our latest radio shows coming up. I have in the studio with me May Ronci, and I have Jim here with me as well. May and Jim, can you guys introduce yourselves, say hello? And May, welcome back. I just had you in a couple days ago introducing Traditions Health Hospice to everybody on KHTS. So good morning and welcome back.
Good morning, Shane. Thanks for having us back. Yes, my name is May Ronci, and I'm the nurse practitioner and executive director for the Traditions Health Hospice Lancaster branch.
Awesome. And then Jim, go ahead and introduce yourself. We had May on last time, but we haven't had a chance to get to know you or hear your awesome voice.
Thank you for that. Jim Holloway, I'm the Vice President of Operations for Traditions for California.
Awesome. Welcome, Jim. It's good to have you guys because you have a lot coming up. You have a lot in store for Santa Clarita as well as a lot in store for this radio show. So before we get too much into what's going to be going on for the radio show, May, you shared an incredible personal story about what inspired you to get involved with hospice care. And part of what you guys want to do through the radio show and through your business is destigmatize those end-of-life scenarios, make it something that people feel more comfortable and something that they actually, nobody wants to, but have a plan that they actually want to set up for the sake and security of their family. So let's talk about hospice. May, I'll start with you. What is hospice, just in the most basic forms for people who may be unfamiliar with it or really only heard the word thrown around?
Well, hospice is a type of care that a patient can have really in any setting to help manage their symptoms at the end of life. It's about allowing a patient to have quality of life, pain management, symptom management, and allowing them to really experience a dignified passing and death when that time comes, but usually in the comfort of their own home surrounded by the people who love them.
And that makes a big difference. Having the people there, the emotional care is just as important as the physical support. So that hospice is kind of what you're saying. It's that extra layer of support with a team of people who care for the patient and the entire family.
Absolutely.
So who's a part of that team for hospice?
That's a great question. So the hospice team, it comprised of a provider, usually a medical director and or a nurse practitioner, also an RN case manager that comes out and manages the patient 2 to 3 times a week, a bath aide that comes out if and when the family needs that or requests that to help with bathing, changing linens, and making sure the patient's hygiene is being kept up, a chaplain, and a social worker. So there's a whole team of people that are caring for not just the patient like we talked about last time, but also their family, keeping in mind that patient family-centered care.
And that is those types of services. Where can those be provided? Is that something that's only going to be accessible in your locations, or where can people get those?
So hospice is generally done in a home setting if that's appropriate or wanted or desired by the patient and family. It can be in a nursing home. It can be in a boarding care. Hospice really is wherever the patient is. We take hospice to the patient, and that's the beauty of hospice. It can be done in a hospital if a patient has symptoms out of control for a short period of time while we manage their symptoms. So remembering that hospice goes where the patient is, we bring hospice to them.
No matter where you're at, keeping those services in home, keeping the people in their own houses. I read on your website, you take great pride in maintaining the integrity of each person and patient in their own homes, the place that they've gotten to know and the places that some people grew up in. It's a family house. So that keeping people in the same place, changing their surroundings can be just as an emotional toll as some of the physical aspects that they're going through. So keeping the people in their home,
right.
Huge.
There was actually a survey done of Americans in the United States, and 75% of the people polled wanted to actually die in their own homes. So with hospice, that we allow that to be possible and bring that home to them.
That's incredible. Some people worked their entire lives to get that house. Some people built their own houses still. So it's more than just hey, you got to just do this to make yourself feel better for the physical reasons. It's a huge emotional connection to the building itself and the people that were there. So that's important that you provide those services inside the house. Now Jim, let's bring you in a little bit.
Okay.
The types of people that would benefit from hospice. Who is this for? We keep saying end of life scenarios, but it might not always be that exact scenario. So who is hospice for?
Well, it really is that scenario because the definition of hospice is for anyone who is given a prognosis of 6 months or less to live. In other words, their condition has progressed to a point where clinically medicine cannot do anything for them to prolong their life or make their life better. And so there is no limit on anyone to obtain hospice. It's that they're in that situation in their life.
And the reason I ask that is just kind of continuing that mission that you guys have of destigmatizing it. It shouldn't be something that you feel like, oh no, we're finally at the end. Oh no, this is finally it. Let's almost panicking trying to find a scenario. It's something that should be accessible to everybody at any stage. So thanks for answering that, Jim. So if you, as you mentioned, the prognosis is for somebody that has an end of life scenario. If that patient has elected to pursue comfort-focused care versus curative-focused care, how does that work? What does that look like?
So the goal, obviously, when we go to the doctor or hospital is to fix whatever's wrong, right? So this is a position where that patient, no matter what they're going to do, that can't happen. And so the focus we really look at, and if you look at our company logo, it says never alone. So the ideal here is to focus on comfort, dignity, control. Often, we don't feel like we have control over our health care, and so our goal is to provide that. And then anything that involves, that's how we try to help patients get along.
That's good. And Jim, kind of not backtracking, but how did you get so personally attached to hospice? What is your story in coming to the business?
I've been in healthcare for, I'm not going to say how many years, a long time, and so started off in the pharmaceutical world. I've really enjoyed this because it gives you access and you can really see the benefit people receive from it. I do have some personal experience myself. My mother-in-law, my mom, both were in hospice. My father died when I was young of pancreatic cancer, and he spent the last 3 weeks of his life in a hospital. And I think, knowing my dad, if somebody had came to us and said he can go home and have his dignity and be in peace and be in the place he loves, we would have jumped on it. And so I think about that as we deal with patients, to offer that to them. Take over, be at peace, be with your family. And now with COVID, you can't even go into the hospital to see your family member. So it's even another benefit now to be able to go home, get the full care. I mean, you've got RNs, a nurse practitioner, access to a doctor, home health aides, everything you need to make that part of your life as special as it can be.
Thanks for sharing that, Jim. I know a lot of people, they may not show it on the outside, but more people than you think are enduring these types of scenarios where somebody is approaching or already at that end of life scenario. You experienced it very early on, so it's something that you have a personal connection for. It's your family, so that's incredible that you try to give that experience back to somebody, for somebody like you that didn't get a chance to do so, have your loved ones, pass away inside the house. Thank you for sharing that, Jim. So
Sure.
Kind of goes along with what you were saying, though. Who can benefit from hospice? It's anybody. It's anybody that's approaching that end of life scenario. So for either one of you, from May or Jim, we'll start with you, May. Why choose hospice? Why choose, traditions to help you with that hospice?
Well, for me, I think, Shane, I view the death just as important as the birth, and I think with hospice, it allows the patient to choose how they progress through their journey in life. And with hospice, it allows comfort, like Jim said, dignity, and really bringing back quality of life to the patient, especially when we can manage their symptoms so well. So in having hospice, especially in a home setting, allows them to be with their loved ones at that really pivotal time for their lives, but also for their families' lives, because they're losing somebody that they care so dearly about. So having hospice be a part of their lives, we take that as an honor and a privilege to be involved and included and invited into people's homes to help with that. So I think back to what we've always been talking about, I think from the first time you and I met, was death with dignity, with comfort, and with quality.
And Jim,
Yeah.
you were already ready. Go ahead.
I was ready, yeah. One of the things we really try to do when we hire someone is we use the word hospice heart. We really believe it's just not another job. As you can imagine what it's like to deal with patients. Every patient you're going to work with is in that stage of their life. But so we believe it not just a job, it's a calling, right? It's not what you do, it's who you are. And so we really try to focus on that. But I do also want to say, for families and patients out there, they have the right to choose whoever they want. And I would encourage them to interview multiple companies, because there are other good companies out there, and find which one that you feel, like anything else, that gels with you and your family, that you feel understands the dynamics of what you will be into. I'm confident that if you were to interview Traditions, you would love them. because we have people like May working on the front lines there.
And you guys are going to be sharing a lot more information on what Traditions does. So both of you, very humbly, of course, especially you, Jim, hospice care is important, but you're going to be talking about what exactly Traditions does on your new radio show coming up. So that's going to get started on, well, it's going to be on Wednesdays from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. right after the senior hour. And so, May, I hear that you're going to be the driving force, the host du jour on the show. But
That's what I've been told.
You're going to have a variety of guests to continue to put this information out there. So going back again to that mission, that goal that you both have, destigmatizing the end-of-life scenario. You guys are going to be here, right here on the radio waves, right on Facebook Live, KHTS Radio, to give more information like that. So as a little preview, what sort of guests or topics can people sort of expect to tune into?
Oh, well, I think I'd really like to talk about hospice, of course, and destigmatizing the idea of death and dying, to allow our listeners to be comfortable with the idea of hospice, to explore what hospice is, to invite some of our partners in the community. Maybe palliative care team can come on and join us, local physicians that have had their own experiences that refer to hospice, that understand what hospice is, that want to share with their patients, nursing homes that deal with elderly population, to come on the show and talk about their hospice population. And then I think to really, again, just destigmatizing the idea of hospice and what that means for us, and the idea of death and dying. I think that's going to be my goals.
And Jim, are you going to be sticking around? Are you going to be able to join in on many of these shows?
Maybe some of them. I think May is the leader on this. And the other part of bringing other people is to give the whole package to people, so they can understand. As we were talking about earlier, often families are faced with this decision in an instant. You know, it's not something you spend your life thinking about, which that would be weird, I guess, if that's what you did. But this, by bringing in people from like skilled nursing facilities, assisted living, doctors who work with this, hospitals, what it's like if you're in the hospital and you're faced with this decision, would just give the overall picture and hopefully educate people so that they're more comfortable when they're trying to make these decisions.
That the medical side, the technical side of the hospice care is extremely important, but also you've shared your story, May, you've shared your story, Jim. The people that work these professions and take care of their patients, they have a personal story. It's not, I use the word business and I feel bad, but it's not a business. It's something that's personal to each and every one of you. So having those guests on and sharing those stories, like you just said, Jim, there's not many people driving down the freeway that are thinking about their end-of-life scenario or maybe their parents' end-of-life scenario, but it's something that you guys are going to try to maybe make it more of a common thought. It's a serious conversation, but it's a serious conversation. So it's something that should be addressed and approached, but at the same time, not be fearful. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm truly excited. You both are incredible people, and we're excited to have you joining the KHTS family. So that's that radio show for the listener out there. That's going to be on Wednesdays from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. following the senior hour. You can catch it on all of our usual outlets right here on the airwaves, 98.1 FM, AM 1220. You can catch it on KHTS Radio live on Facebook Live at KHTS Radio. Jim, May, thank you guys for coming in. And before we go, May, what's one thing that you want to tell people that just makes them feel better about hospice, or maybe just reaching out to Traditions and getting a hold of you guys?
Well, can I give them? I'm going to give them our number.
Of course, absolutely, yeah.
Our phone number, if they want to reach out to us, is 661-951-1146, and that's the Traditions Health office in Lancaster. We do service many areas, extending all the way down into LA area, all the way up to Bakersfield. But our motto is never alone, and that's I think my biggest message to everybody is to know that whether it's our hospice or not, the idea is that you don't have to be alone, and you're never alone when you're with Traditions.
That's incredible. And Jim, parting words? We got to hear that Southern accent one more time.
I'm trying not to sound too much like that.
I know, I'm putting you on the spot, but since it's been incredible having you on, and since you're an important player in what Traditions does, just final words, kind of like what May said, to have people feel comfortable about calling Traditions and something that they can feel comfortable with.
So our website is traditionshealth.com, so they can go and based on where they live, you can find out what programs we have. We are in other states, so they could be someone who's living here and their relatives in Phoenix, and so we can help them do that. And like May said, never alone, that you can reach out. We'll answer any question you have and hopefully give you the information you need to know to make a difficult decision.
That's good. I put you on the spot, Jim. But
Yeah, that's right.
but
Thanks.
thank you. I appreciate your time. May, I appreciate you. We're excited to have you guys join the KHTS family and get to know traditions, health better, get to know hospice care better, and really destigmatize that. So again, thank you so much for coming in this morning. And we are going to get you back to the music. We're going to check in with all of your local news. We've got Dodgers coming up later. It's everything you need. It's all right here. It is your hometown station, KHTS 98.1 FM, AM 1220.
Hometown, your hometown station.
Hi, I'm Steve Cruz, and my wife and I own the local.